we have similar stories, and I'm very curious to find out your take on this because I was in telecommunications for a very long time. I started in that field soon after graduation in 1994, and from college. And I graduated college the first time, and I never thought I was going to be away from corporate America because that was at the time the dream. Oh, you go, you study as much as you can, and then you get a good job, and then you climb that ladder in that company, and then you become an executive, and then live happily ever after with a retirement, right? Okay. Well, it does something to your ego when you lose a job or like I got laid off. I was a top performer and I got laid off. It's like, well, how can I be laid off? I'm good. My customers love me. My peers love me. How could this be? It's like it is humbling, right? And but it is very easy when that happens to just go back to more of the same somewhere else. So if you're in company A, it's very easy for your mind to say, you know what, I'm very good at this. I'm just going to get another job doing the exact same thing over there in this other company. But that's not what you did. And that's not what I did either. I mean, I thought about it, and I was very tempted to do that because that's the easy way out. And this entrepreneurship world that you and I are in is hard. It's very hard. It's very challenging. There's, I find, and I love your take on this, I find it far less collaborative than the corporate world. In the corporate world, people help each other. I mean, I used to work with my competitors, at times when we needed to do something together for our common client. In the entrepreneurship world, I feel there's a lot less collaboration, so it's a challenge. It's hard. You're alone. You don't have a safety net of a company salary and benefits, et cetera, et cetera. But yet, both you and I went that route. What made you take that route versus just going somewhere else and doing more of what you were doing at La Berge?
That's a very good question. I think there's one that happened probably because an unconscious level of readiness. I think there was that. I've realized now, a little bit over 2 years in the entrepreneurship, at 100% doing this, I realized that the 25 years, while I learned everything I needed to learn, it's almost like I was in a box for 25 years. That box became bigger because of the title and responsibility. But ever since I became entrepreneur, it's almost like I have no box anymore. It's like I was meant to be an entrepreneur. It feels like I'm just very good at being an entrepreneur. I just know how to navigate this route. So that's the first thought on. And the second thought on is it was just something that situational, I would say. I live in the state of Connecticut, and when I got laid off from my job, I actually came home, and I was to your point. You become very vulnerable. You're just wondering, did you do something wrong, and like what could you have done wrong? So your ego is very bruised, and especially if you've been a top performer. And I actually did not necessarily announce that to my wife right away. I decided to go to the gym. I went to the gym, went to for an hour and a half, and then I came back. And obviously, my wife, she just caught on something immediately, asking me what's wrong. And so that's where I kind of split the bin. And then she actually was much more composed and calm than I was. I was crumbling inside. I was not showing it, but I was crumbling inside. And my wife just said, okay, so let's rebound on this. What can we do? And then over the next few days, she was sending me job application and stuff like that, like right from the second day when I was still trying to process things. And if you know the state of Connecticut and how small it is, there's not a lot going on in the world of hospitality in Connecticut. And so there was one thing for sure that we agreed on with my wife is we had just bought a house about a little bit over a year prior, and we're not willing to move. family lives in the state of Connecticut. I'm much closer to Europe to see my parents from the West Coast. So everything was that the location is where we wanted to have our roots and build our family. And so fast forward into a few weeks later, I was going into interview, tempted to your point, going back into corporate. But I did not want it to be a general manager. I wanted to stay within the realm of food and beverage, culinary. So I started applying for any job that was offering an hybrid version when I can work from home and I do a little bit of travel. And I was faced with a lot of interviews. But every time the door closed after X amount of interview by saying, sorry, you don't have the experience or you've never done it before. And so actually my wife had the idea, say, why don't you dust off your company? Just to dust it off, just relaunch this. And thinking about it, say, what does that look like? I have yet to establish a market in the world of coaching and speaking in Connecticut. And so I've decided to add what I'm good at, because I remember actually Susie, as we're going to talk about her, Susie's always told me, and he said, everyone would hire an expert, everyone. And so I've decided to say, you know what, I'm an expert now. I believe in 20 years plus, I'm an expert in culinary, I'm an expert in F&B. So I'm just going to add that into the umbrella of my company and started to do that. And so I've sent, I remember exactly 53 emails to my network. 53 emails that I've sent to just launch my new venture and see how he would respond. And out of the 53, I received 16 emails that were congratulations. I'm so happy for you. Good luck in this. But while it's flattering, it's great. I needed a job. And it's great to receive the support, but I needed more than that. And it took one out of 53 to say, I'm going to need some help here. And so my last day at Auberge Resort Collection was on February 1st. On February 2nd, I was on a plane for my first project, which led into what it is today. But it just took one. It was a risk. It was luck, but I am overly grateful for that first call that I received.
That's wonderful, and it actually exemplifies the 90-10 rule or 80-20 rule that people talk about, right? If you want 10 calls back, you need to make 100, because 10, and then of those 10, maybe one will be something that you want to hear versus good luck, happy for you.
Be ready to be disappointed. Like, you got to be ready, because 53 emails, when they were selected to be, wow, I had great relationship with these people over the last 10 years. They know me, I work for them. And then some of them, you actually don't receive a response. It's crazy. And that's where you understand and say, okay, this is a very different ball game. Entrepreneurship, I'm entering an adult game. Am I ready for it? Am I ready for the setback? Am I ready to show more resilience? Am I ready to be disappointed by people that you used to call friends, or people that used to be there for you because you've showed up for them countless of time, and that one time you reached out and they don't show up, you just kind of say, oh, that is so heartbreaking. But at the end of the day, it is the world of entrepreneurship. This is the world we're living in. You're going to be disappointed. Not everyone's going to show up. But the one that show up, they're the one that you have to show loyalty to.
And that's okay, and that is what some people call the isness of life. That's just the way it is, and you can waste a lot of time asking, why didn't they get back to me? I thought we were friends. I thought we were, strong colleagues. I thought they respected. That is a dead end. What's happening in their mind is happening out there, and you never know what's going on, right? So to dwell on that is just completely counterproductive, and it takes you away from your path. It takes you away from your work, from your journey, for the things you have to do in order to be able to get to where you want to get. So I'm glad that you brought that up, because that is a reality. I've seen it too. And then there's the other side where, you have the ones that say no, you have the ones that never answer, and then you have the ones that then say yes, but then the relationship doesn't work, right? Mm-hmm. Or maybe they don't, something happens, or they just decide to go in a different direction. So that's all part of the journey, and it's all the way it is, and people are just doing what they do, and that's the end of it, right? So let me ask you, because going now, leading into what you said about, Susie giving you a call for help here at the Wave Hotel in Lake Nona, we all love Susie and we all miss her, now that she's in California close to her family. I hope you're watching, Susie. We love you. Um, it takes, I'll say something, and I would like for you to either, to keep me honest, see if you agree with what I'm saying, or if you disagree, that's also cool. Guide me in the right direction. But it seems like the environment that she created here for that hotel and the people like you that she brought in, right, requires a certain level of vocation, right, on how to create a space. I mean, the space is just created by the architects, right? But the vibe in the space, that's something different. That requires a certain level of love, a certain level of attention, a certain level of observation, a certain level of scrutiny, a sense of selflessness, to give so much of yourself to create an environment where people love working for you. Mm-hmm. Right? And when she was here, it was like everyone there that I interacted with, and I was there every day, for meetings and stuff like that. Still, go there quite a bit. There's a special vibe that comes when the people, in her case being the GM, it's like cooking. It's like they put this spice, right? This special spice, and it just permeates to all the employees. And the ones that don't get it, well, they weed themselves out, and then they get, replaced. But you walk in there and you feel something special, like you want to be there. Do you feel the same way? And if you can expand on that, what have you learned about trying to provide that spice, to, as an analogy from the cooking world, into the overall hospitality?
Yeah, I mean, I before I get that around, I do strongly believe there is such a thing as a Susie effect. She is the most generous, kind soul I ever met in my life. It is not even a competition. She's on her own sphere about what she does, and she has a way to surround herself with the right people, and she has a way to just make everything about hospitality flawless, just effortless. And to your point, when you were talking about selflessness, Susie embodied selflessness. She even now, going into what she's going through, she's still showing up for everybody else, everybody across the entire country. It's just there is such thing as a Susie effect. So to answer your question is, I do strongly believe. I do strongly believe what you say. I think it comes down to the culture of in an environment. The leadership at the helm of that culture is the one that will be the chef cooking, is the one that's going to be putting the ingredients in. And you can put once in a while the wrong ingredients, but as long as it doesn't deteriorate the rest of the dish, you won't have a perfect recipe. And I think that it is something I've been thriving for everywhere. I've worked in some very remote place. I've worked into place like Sedona, or even Washington, Connecticut here. It's like there is nothing around. Like in Washington, Connecticut, you don't even have phone signal, and you're in 2025. But when you get to create a culture, people will drive an hour to come to work because it is so rare to find these days, especially in the world of hospitality, to really find that place when you feel like you're part of something bigger than yourself. And I think the vibe that you describing is really that, is you entering into an environment of like 250, 300 rooms, and every interaction that you have, you feel how genuine that is. And they're not genuine because you're a guest. They're just genuine because it's human to human. You feel good about yourself. You feel good about what you're doing. Therefore, you just want to make the other person in front of you feel good about it. And she was able to instill this across the entire property, from a housekeeping to a bacan to the bar to Haven. She was able to instill that across the property, and that's the ultimate compliment of being a GM or any leadership. I think if you get to a place when your culture is healthy, that you don't have any retention problem, that people show up to work, that you don't deal with the call out, that when you're busy, everyone rally, then there is a level of self accountability. You don't have to do the write ups left and right, that people hold themselves accountable without needed the write up. When you have created this environment, not only it's actually productive, you actually spend less time to hire people and doing interviews because now you don't need to. It's cost effective. It's cost effective because now you don't spend the money into advertising, new positioning, and being short staffed or killing yourself while you're trying to cater to the guests in the middle of the season. But at the same time, I think you're just creating an ecosystem, very healthy. And once you have that, you can consider yourself one of the greats in what you do.
Do you think that can be taught? Or is that it just have to be a person that has those virtues?
You know what? It is funny you're talking about this, and I'm opening a brand new door. But I just wrote a book. I wrote a book called, I'm going to call it Relentless Growth, which is cultivating a chef mindset for professional fulfillment. I'm in the middle of getting it edited and then published probably around early fall. But the reason why I'm saying this is the first of a three book. My first book is about the work you need to do with yourself in order to get to that mindset that you need to. And then the second book, to answer your question, is, do you think it can be taught? Is how can you go and arriving in an environment that is either toxic, broken, underperforming, and how do you make everyone influenced towards your mindset? How do you transform a place? And this is, I've yet to start anything on this book, but this is the conceptual idea of what this book is once now you have adopted the growth mindset and the relentless growth mindset that I'm going to try to teach through the first book. Now, once you have it, then what? What am I doing after that? And how do I arrive in an environment, and how do I inspire people around you? How do you create loyalty? How do you create a following? And how do you create an environment when it's healthy? Because ultimately, if you take care of your employee will take care of the guest will take care of the stakeholder. That's the wheel, the golden wheel that everyone should follow. And I think right now in hospitality, we have a tendency of, and this is, I think there's success on both. I'm a more of a culture-driven leadership. There is performance-driven leadership. They both work. They both get to a result. But I like to think that the most sustainable one, the one that will last 100 years, is culture-driven leadership. You take care of your people, they take care of the environment, and then you can just take a step back and appreciate what you just did.
That is wonderful. I believe to a certain extent it can be taught, but you also have to have a little bit of that secret sauce, right? Of that person that wants to that have some of those virtues, similar to the fields of education or the fields of medicine, right? Where you can tell the difference between a doctor or a teacher or a professor that just loves what they do. They create an aura around themselves, and it just permeates everyone around. And I think what you and I are agreeing is that in the world of hospitality, it is that we're calling now the Susie Effect, right? Of permeating what it's already in you, right? In that community of in that team, and then that it just permeates to the customers. So it's a beautiful thing. Well, Frank, I knew this was going to happen. It always happens this way. We're talking and I have more questions, but we're out of time. What would you like? I always like to leave my guests, with a challenge.
Okay.
What would be three things that you want to leave the audience with regarding the journey?
Okay. Well, three things. I would say the first one is learn about yourself, what you truly want in life and in your career. Learn about yourself. So emotional intelligence, that's one thought. The second is embrace the fact that it will be your journey without destination. And enjoy it. Find fulfillment through the journey. And the last one that I want to share is I would say take risk. You take risk. Failure is a word that's been created with so much negativity attached to it. When I like to believe that failure is just a setback in disguise. You just get to, if you get to what we would describe as a failure, realize that now you get to start from experience, not from scratch. So take what you've learned from that failure or setback and keep moving forward regardless.
Wonderful. Where can people find about you? You have a website, that people can go look?
So I'm going to have two websites. One is www.incrementumllc.net. That's my company, which you'll find me there. And then one that is under construction, which soon will be launched and unveiled, which will be called cheffrank.com.
Fantastic. Chef Frank Deleon, chef, entrepreneur, and all-around great human being. Thank you for being a guest in my podcast. Thank you for making time for us.
Thank you very much. It was awesome to have you and spend time with you. human being that I wanted to be.